Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining me for studying of this week's Torah portion. Today we study the portion of Eikev, and I'm sharing with you a discussion, a Sikha of the Rebbe in Likutei Sichos, volume 19. The topic of our discussion is going to be Mezuzah. In the Torah portion today, and appeared last week as well, we read a chapter of Shema. The first portion, the first chapter of Shema was last week. This week we study V'haya Shema, the second portion. Towards the end, there is a repeat of the same mitzvot, some of the mitzvot. One of them is tefillin, and the other is mezuzah. I'm going to read to you the commandment regarding mitzvah. Verse 20, chapter 11. You shall write them on the doorpost of your house and upon your gates. And God continues, all that is in order that your days and your children's days will be prolonged upon the land which God swore to your forefathers to give them. So we see here God is commanding us, and again, the same words, Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha, is last week as well in the portion of Shema. So we repeat the same mitzvah twice, every time we say the Shema. It is one of the very few mitzvot where the reward appears immediately after the commandment. Anybody knows another mitzvah, the reward is honor thy father and mother, one of the 10 commandments. The God says, I will give you long life. And releasing the mother before taking the babies, you will have long life. The Rebbe brings from different opinions that it may be also about Shabbat and about study of Torah. God is rewarding us with long life. But we're going to concentrate on the Mitzvah of Mezuzah. The Torah is one of the codified of Jewish law, and it is based on the Talmud, makes a very clear distinction regarding mezuzah as opposed to all other mitzvot. And let me paraphrase it in my words so you can relate to it, because it's very crucial. That would be the foundation of everything we discuss. He says that in the Torah, God gave us 613 commandments. They are divided into two categories. And they are, one category is serving God. The second category is serving myself. 612 mitzvot God gave us are to serve God. God wants you to feed the poor. God wants you to observe the Shabbat. God wants you to remember coming out of Egypt. God wants you to eat matzah. You're serving God. One mitzvah is in the second category all by itself, mezuzah. The reason God gave us the mezuzah is serving ourselves. So being able to protect ourselves. You're not doing God a favor. God offered you a tool to protect yourself from danger, from mazikim, from forces of evil, materialistic or spiritual, regardless. In other words, the Beit Chadash, a rabbi that came after the Torah, many years after, explains that what the Torah wants to tell us, and it is not just the Torah is based on the Talmud. When God tells us Leman Yirbu, so that your life will be prolonged, it is a secondary. The real benefit is a protection. Protecting ourselves is by putting a mezuzah. So why do I put a mezuzah? For myself. It does not serve any purpose for God. It's a whole different category of serving God. Other 612 is for God. Ali, you following? Says the Bach, when we say that life will be prolonged, that appears immediately after the mitzvah, which is similar to other mitzvot as mentioned before, honor thy father and mother, let go of the mother bird, etc. It is not the same because it's only secondary. It's not that important part. The real important part is it was given to us for protection. God is offering us for protection. And the Rebbe goes on. that even though Rambam says, Rambam says that one of the reasons that we put a mezuzah, Rambam is the Jewish law, is to have in mind that God is offering us a protection. In other words, why God gave us the mitzvah of matzah? To remember the bread of poverty. Why God tells us to give tzedakah? To remember that God is doing tzedakah with us and providing us. Why keep Shabbat? To remember that God created the world in 6 days and 7 days he rested. You need to give rest. Every mitzvah has a reason. You know why you put up mezuzah, says Rambam? Because God is protecting you. Where he says, if you put the mezuzah, I'll protect you. That's why there are many details in the mitzvah that are unique to mezuzah. Let me share with you two before I address a question. Number one, why is it put on the doorpost? Put it on your bookcase. Put it in your pocket. But if you go back to the first time the word mezuzot appears, Harry, where do you read mezuzah?
When God
The night of the firstborn before they died, God says, put the blood of the sacrifice on the doorpost on the mezuzah. That will serve as a protection. So we know the doorpost is there. If you do something to remind yourself of God, it will provide a protection, a cover, a blanket coverage, even when you're outside, because there were many Israelites that ended up sleeping in an Egyptian's house, and they were protected because at home they put a mezuzah, they put on the doorpost the blood. Then there is another halacha, says the Rebbe. When you put the mezuzah, says the Gemara, put it within a tefach, it's not a handbread. Handbread is tefach, within about 3 inches from the outside. So if you have a doorpost that's very thick, you have doorposts like in Israel, they have shelters. You know, the metal shelters, whatever they call them. They are 10 inches, they are 11 inches, they are 15 inches. You have a garage door that the doorpost of the garage door, by the time you add all the components, the drywall, the whatever, and the cinder block, it's about 10 inches. You must put the mezuzah betefach asamuch lapetach, in within 3 inches of the outside. And one can ask why, says the Gemara, because the entire purpose of the mezuzah is to protect us, to protecting us. Where are the danger? Where is danger? Outside. So you want to put it out close to the outside, so it provides protection from the outside. In other words, mezuzah is all about me, a benefit for me, protection. Says the Rebbe, now these are small details, but I think it's crucial. Rambam writes that anybody who adds God's names with kameha, these different spiritual names for protection to the mezuzah, not only is stupid, the Rambam used the word tipshim, but he also defiles God, and he is akin to an idol worshiper. Says the Rebbe, it is because they think that the magic of the mezuzah is the text, is the words that appear. That's why they add their own names there of holy angels. The reason it serves a protection is because God told us he will protect us. He is offering us a gift. Therefore, don't do it. Don't add to it. But having in mind, when I put a mezuzah that I wanted to protect, there is nothing wrong, because mezuzah is unique from all the mitzvot, where I do it for my own benefit. I told you it's a second category on its own. That explains other details. Harry, you have a question?
You answered it already.
Oh, I did.
You remind me.
You said every mitzvah has some reason, but I thought chukim has no reason.
Huh?
But you said that about every mitzvah has a reason.
Every mitzvah has a reason, and chukim are mitzvot that we don't know the reason. Doesn't mean it doesn't have a reason. And they are protecting us, but not like mezuzah that God gave it for a particular way. He says this will serve as a protection. Now the Rebbe will go into another topic that explains the Medrash Tosefta brings a story between Rebbe and Artabal. Rebbe was born on the same day that a Roman governor by the name of Antoninus. They were soulmates, and they shared their life together. He saved Rebbe because he was not circumcised. I don't know if I showed you. Rebbe was the codifier of the Mishnah. He had a Persian friend, a minister, a ruler in Persia. And Artabal, that's his name, Artabal, sent Rabbi Yehuda Anasi a gift, a very precious diamond that was very unique. And Rabbi in return sent him a mezuzah. Artabal was very angry. He says, are we friends or what? I'm giving you something that's valued at $750,000, and you send me back something that worth $100 at best. I cannot.
Expects a monetary return.
Yes.
They expect the same in return.
Well, those days they did expect exchange of gifts, yes. There's nothing wrong. So Rebbe said to him, you gave me a gift that needs protection. I have to hire guards to protect it. Otherwise, the hooligans, the gangsters are going to come and take it. I gave you a gift that protects you. That's called the mezuzah. The Tosefta, the Medrash continues, that Rebbe was, the Artabal says, maybe there is something to it. It's a protection. He had a daughter that the demons entered her. Dibuk. Anybody heard about Dibuk? Meshugine, go Meshugin. And the demon entered the daughter. So he put the mezuzah up and the demon left her. She got cured. So he saw how great the Jewish God is because he protects the Jewish people. The Rebbe goes on, so we see, says the Rebbe, this is the point. The mitzvah of mezuzah is for a Jew. It's not for a non-Jew. Artabal was not Jewish. Yet it served, as Rebbe told them, it is for protection. Says the Rebbe, before you fulfill the mitzvah, you just hold it. You just keep it. It serves a protection. And the Friedrich Rebbe, the Rebbe Rayatz, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, the father-in-law of the Rebbe, would have a mezuzah parchment on his desk all the time. Why? For protection. Do you fulfill the mitzvah of mezuzah? Absolutely not. Because a mezuzah fulfill, you say the bracha only when you fix it on the doorpost. But even before you fulfill the mitzvah, there is the protection within the parchment. That explains something else. The Mishnah of Kalim, I'm not going to go into Kalim. The Mishnah is listing different utensils that are susceptible to impurity. We're not going to address questions about that. One of the tools the Mishnah is talking about is a cane that has a enclave, a hole to house a mezuzah. Says the Gemara that in ancient times, they used to have canes, and the canes would have a mezuzah in them. So anywhere they walk, they were walking with a mezuzah. Now, did they fulfill the mitzvah of mezuzah by walking with a cane? Absolutely not. Can they allow to say bracha? For sure not. Are they disgracing the mezuzah? No, the Mishnah is talking about this type of utensil that is susceptible to impurity because the enclave, the holder, is there something, the whole purpose of the cane. So, Rabbi, we see from here that just the mezuzah on its own, before it's placed on the door, is for the purpose of protection.
So it's okay to put a mezuzah, for example, in a car.
So therefore, let me address that. In the car, provided it is covered twice. Because if somebody is there with a bathing suit dressed improperly, it's disgrace. And the Rebbe actually, there was a person who would suffer from I believe, mental issues. And the Rebbe told them to take a mezuzah, kosher mezuzah, wrap it around in two covers. It has to be two covers. That's when it protects. It's getting protected from, and keep it in his pocket the whole time. So whenever you walk into the bathroom, it's not disgracing God. Otherwise, when someone walked in with a tefillin, mezuzah, or prayer book with God's name into a bathroom, for example, a bathroom, is not violating God's name. Therefore, he should have double covers. So if someone wants to keep it in the car, I'm not starting a new mitzvah, a new idea, project, But if someone wants to keep it in the car, by all means. But there is a better one, to keep Chumash, Tehillim, and Tanya. The Rabbi says this in a tzedakah box in the car. I keep a Chumash, Tehillim, Tanya, Chitat, and a tzedakah box in every car. When I rent a car, I try to use it too. When counselors I had, they rented cars for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, they would have their own chitas. Why? It serves as a protection. I want to go back to one more point. The Frierdiker Rebbe, the previous Lubavitcher, and this is also an interesting point. The previous Lubavitcher Rebbe was put in jail 5 times in his life. But the last time was the most crucial one because that was when the communists put him in jail. And he was there for, I believe, 2 months, almost 2 months. No, from Tesvav Sivan, about a month, less than a month. And 12th of Tammuz, he was released. They interrogated him in a very, very cruel way. They threw him off the stairs. He was paralyzed by the time he left. And you cannot imagine the excruciating suffering that he went through. And there are many stories. He wrote a diary. He writes that one day the interrogators, who were Jewish, children of Hasidim, the interrogators, one of them turned to him and he says, "Why are you so relaxed? Where do you think you are?" In other words, reminding him that he is a place where his life is on the line, so to say, every moment. What is his reply? He says, "I know exactly where I am." So they said, "Where?" He says, "I am in a place that is excluded from the Mitzvah of Mezuzah." And they said, "What? What do you mean?" He says, "You have to put a mezuzah on every room in the house. But there are some exclusions. One is a bathroom, it's disrespect for God, and the other is a barn, a place for horses." He says, this is akin to those places, so there is no mezuzah here. Says the Rebbe is asking, why did he have to say that to them? He could have said, "I know where I am. I'm in Spolarka. I'm in jail. I am under your control." Why did he say this is a place that exempt from mezuzah? Says the Rebbe, there are 2 places where you can fulfill the mitzvah of mezuzah for protection. There is a place where you're obligated to put a mezuzah. You fulfill the mitzvah of putting a mezuzah by affixing the mezuzah. There is a place where you can fulfill the mitzvah of mezuzah by not putting a mezuzah, a bathroom, an entrance to a jacuzzi, an entrance to a shower. You're not allowed to. That's how you fulfill the mitzvah. But you can always fulfill the mitzvah by speaking about the mitzvah. It says many, many places that if you cannot fulfill a mitzvah, speak about the law of the mitzvah. And by speaking about the law of the mitzvah, it is considered as if, because you wanted to fulfill the mitzvah, as if you fulfill the mitzvah. Therefore, the Frierdiker Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, was in a place where you're not supposed to do a mitzvah of mezuzah. So he figured, let me speak about the law of mezuzah and share with them, they're Jewish. Share with them Jewish law, that this place should not have a mezuzah because they're killing people there. There are a lot of bloodshed there. There was a lot of disgrace for humanity, and therefore not allowed to put a mezuzah. So he shared with them Jewish law, particularly about a mezuzah, because that's how he creates protection. I just want to add, this is not from the Sikha, but a little bit more to the mezuzah. There are very few places where Ashkenazi go one way, Sephardi go the other, and we all do a compromise. There is a dispute between codifiers, Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam, I believe, Rashi and Tosfot, I'm sorry, whether the mezuzah should be standing upright or should be lying down. Rashi said it should be lying down. Tosfot said lying down is like the burial of a donkey. He says when you bury donkey, you bury them lying down, straight, horizontal. It's not right. Should put the mezuzah straight. What do we do? On a slant. Why do we do a slant? So that Ashkenazi and Sephardim all come together and agree upon. In other words, there were 3 places where we disagree, and this is one of the very few that we actually come together. How do you read from the Torah? The the Sephardic Jews read from the Torah while it's standing. That's why it's in a box. Anybody seen the Sephardic Torah?
Yeah.
Why do they use the box? So you put them standing and you read. Ashkenazi Jews wanted to be lying down. What do? We make a compromise. We
Slants.
build a bima on this land. It's not just so it should be easy to read, it's to accommodate. There's another place where there's a
But the
dispute.
Spartans still use standing up.
Not all of them.
Really?
Yeah, some of them, I've been to many Sephardic shul, Moroccans in particular, it's not, Yemenite, it's standing, I believe. I may be wrong. And Moroccans, they have a bima like this, and they actually put it down. Oh, some communities. Another dispute between Ashkenazi and Sephardic is, how does the Torah in the Holy Ark stands? Should it be standing upright or should it be lying down? That's why the Sephardic Torahs are in the boxes, they stand straight. The rest of the Jews, we do a compromise. We make it on a slant. You put it on a slant not just because it's practical. It's built in that way so that you accommodate for both opinions. I want to go back to the mezuzah. This is one of the very few places where there is a dispute, yet we all try to make a compromise and accommodate everybody, and that is putting it on a slant. It also is a reminder, I think I shared before, mezuzah, the acronym of mezuzot is 613, I think. Taf, no, cannot be. There is something else to the acronym, to the gematria, but mezuzah has the two so genders. Zu is she, ze is he. Mezuzah is a combination of he and she, her and he, or he and she, because the mezuzah represent the real protection you want to have at home is to live in peace with the inhabitants, starting with the father and mother. And that's why, by the way, some say the symbol of mezuzah, it's a symbolizing about before you enter the house, you put your hand on the mezuzah to remind you that before you enter, realize that the only reason the house is still standing and you live with another person under the same roof is because you need to come to a compromise. You are right 100%, but she's also right 100%. And if you both come to a compromise, you both are 200% right. That's the idea of mezuzah. There is another meaning to the word mezuzah, although mezuzah is seemingly a Greek name, a Greek word. Mezuzah, if you change the letters, keep the same letters, but change the order, zaz mavet. Mavet is death. Zaz, removed. In other words, it will protect a person or the inhabitants from unfortunate situations. So again, this mitzvah is so unique. It's the only one mitzvah that we serve ourselves and not serving God. And God in his great kindness allowed us to have one mitzvah that not only we should live long, but should protect us. And when we put a mezuzah, we serve God, we do it after the mitzvah of serving God, but we also have in mind, because God told us, it will bring us protection. And to me, this is a very powerful lesson. Good morning, everybody, and good Shabbos.
Oh, thank you.